Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means, and the other one is along for the ride. Austin, what's up?
How we doing, man? Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this. We've been in talks for a few months now to set this up.
Yeah, it's good to finally get on here, man. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, should be fun. Oh, we got royalty in the chat. Cade Denton says, "Sup, Em?"
Here he is. My dog right there.
How cool was it to give? I had a question down the road, so this is how this is going to run. How cool was it to hand the ball off to the arm barn that you had in Fresno this past year? And you can speak
Man,
highly of Cade if you want to. He's
yeah,
great.
it was so easy. I mean, everybody in the org, has plenty of talent, and I would trust anybody to take over after I was, done starting a game. But man, that bullpen we had in Fresno was special. I mean, all of them. I mean, Cade and Bill and everybody. I mean, we had Colin and we had Herrera for a while. God, he was lights out all year.
Yeah, Wellington.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to talk about him because I'm infatuated by Wellington Herrera. Like he came on the scene out of nowhere last year and just like mowing people down.
yeah,
Was
I
that fun
love
to
him.
watch from the dugout?
Oh, so much fun, man. Yeah, I mean, it was easy, man. I mean, I would get my job done and I'd hand it off, and I'd get to go chill and watch them shut everything down.
that's
It's
so
great.
cool. Yeah, it's got to be nice as a starting pitcher. Like, I mean, you were a reliever for a little bit in college, so you probably kind of get that sense of urgency as a reliever going into it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's high stress. I mean, I remember how it was. I mean, I wasn't guaranteed a starting role in Fresno this year, and I mean, I worked my way into it. But I mean, it's high intensity, and it's high pressure situations, and I really appreciate all of them shutting it down for me when I needed them to.
Did you ever have conversations with like Cade, for example? Because Cade was reliever of the year when he was drafted, and then now he's choosing to stay reliever, even though they kind of gave him the option to be a starter. Was that something that was there for you as well? Like, do you bounce that off of some of your teammates as you're going along with it? How's that go?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was asked, what I prefer. I've always preferred starting, but
Yeah.
to tell the truth, I mean, honestly, my numbers have always been better as a reliever. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, I prefer starting, and, it worked out this season for the most part. Even though I had some bumps on the road, I made my adjustments and I got pretty comfortable. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk to them all the time, just picking their brain. I really do that a lot. I pick their brain a lot about situations like, why would you throw this there in this situation? I really just try to learn from everybody around me.
It's got to be nice, like to have that able to be going. How do those kind of conversations start? I've always been infatuated. Like I just ask them, and that's just how it goes. Is that literally just how it runs? Like, hey, so you were up against this guy at this count. Like, what were you thinking? Like, is it really just the conversation? It's just like, hey, you just go up to them, sit right
Yeah,
next to them.
yeah,
Like, that's how it
yeah. I
goes.
mean, well, obviously, I'll wait until they're done for the night, but
Yeah,
everybody has their different preferences. Me, I'm heavy on my fastball. Other guys, Cade, I mean, he's got that wicked slider. I mean, he's got the sinker too, but I mean, he throws the slider like it's nobody's business. So every now and then I'll be like, well, what did you see there that, gave you that cue, because everybody looks for things in between pitches. You go from pitch to pitch and you make your adjustments, based on their swings and based on the situation. So, if I think I would do something different, I'll pick their brain and be like, hey man, like, what were you thinking here? And then, I learned from that situation too, where it's like, okay, well, maybe this is a viable option, but I mean, everybody's got different repertoires too, so.
yeah. How much of that is conversation with the catcher as well, and like just relying and trusting your battery mate?
All the time, all the
Yeah.
time. One of my favorite things that we did in Fresno this year, Coach Garza, before he left, he kind of implemented it. But we would have pregame meetings, we would have postgame review meetings, and it would be right after the game. And it would be the battery, and so usually it would be me and McCabe. And we go in and we go over, certain situations where I would either, show great success, or, I mean, really, I like to focus on my failures because that's where I think I learn the most.
Love that.
So, I mean, I talk to Ben all the time about that kind of stuff, right after outings, even the day after, because I really like to assess it the day after, because a lot of times my emotions are involved post game. So usually the day after, I'm able to assess it like, with a little bit more of a level head, and I can look at the wins and the losses of the outing, and I can find, both of those things, and I can talk to Ben about it. And we got a little bit more time the next day usually.
Yeah, never make a decision in the heat of the moment. That's definitely something I've learned just as an adult. It's just like, no, we're gonna take a deep breath. It's okay to just come back to this in 24 hours and 12 hours in
Yeah.
the morning and see what happens. You're just a
Yeah,
little
no
bit more
doubt.
clear headed, and that's good. So, like when Garza left, did you guys continue doing that, or was there something
We
else in
did.
play?
We did. Yeah. Dougie took over, one of the coordinators. He took over and he came in. I learned a ton from him, while he was there. Yeah, I love working with all of them. But Dougie especially, it was more the mental side for me. I was struggling a little bit like mentally. I was kind of learning like that balance where, like as a reliever, you come in and it's high intensity and, you can just let it rip every single time. And, kind of as a starter, I couldn't really balance that very well. I felt like at the
Yeah,
beginning of the season, where I would either be like too passive or too aggressive, and it would end up biting me, somewhere in that outing. And so I really learned from him, to kind of keep that level head, find that balance, where it's pitch to pitch and it's high intensity, but you can still assess it.
yeah, it's going through it. So you had a pretty big learning curve then this past
Oh
season,
yes,
going
yes,
full
I've learned so
season,
much.
going full starter, going first pro season. Like, what was kind of the biggest? So, what's the biggest takeaway? But then also, what's the thing that you carried with you from North Alabama, East Tennessee to the pros that you made sure like that was still inside of you?
I would just say the confidence. I mean, I've always had that confidence where, I might not on paper be better than you, but I will find a way to beat you. Like I don't, the numbers are on my side, so I've really learned to have that confidence in me,
Mhm.
where I can take control of any situation and I can shut anything down that I want to, and I just kind of try and keep that. And I've built upon that, with Colorado with the mental skills side. I work with Colt Olson all the time. I talk to him constantly, throughout the season.
Yeah,
Especially once I first got into the org after I got drafted. I really wrote down a lot of the stuff that he said, and I kind of took some of it to heart. Some of it just I kind of felt like didn't really pertain to me. But other stuff like that, where it's just kind of like, not being so hard on myself, not trying to be perfect, because I mean, there is no perfection in this sport. That's the beauty of it, in my
right.
opinion. It's more about failure than anything. And so learning like how to assess those situations, that kind of stuff while I'm out there, being able to do it at the snap of a finger,
Mhm.
I mean, it's invaluable in my opinion. That's what I've learned the most, I think.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that's just going to keep growing stronger as you keep going. We talked to Jared Candy a few times, and he's a grinder on the mound. Like he's a dog, like kind of like you, in the sense like I don't have the best stuff. I don't have the Dolander stuff. Like I'm not going to get you out the easiest, but I'm going to make my pitches. I'm going to make you work for your hit. I'm going to get you out in whatever way that is, and I'm going to find a way to get that. And like watching him on the mound and like him hearing him talk about his mentality of getting through that is always just inspiring. Just like in anything, like shit's gonna get hard, right? Like like how do we get through that, and how do you fight through that, and how do you be better the next time? It's key in everything. And
Yeah.
then just learning that now, like it's huge. Like, and I'm sure you've taken some of those lessons into your own like outside of baseball life. Like I'm sure that's carrying part of yours, just your lifestyle.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it pertains to everything in life. I mean, you kind of take that mentality into everything. I take it into my lifts, every time, it's a grind. Like I don't want to go in every day. I don't want to go in and do PT every day right now. But I mean,
Right.
you just kind of fall in love with the process and making sure that you're getting a little bit better every day, making sure you're outworking yourself from yesterday,
Yep.
that kind of thing. Just finding a way to get better every day.
Every day, just get a little bit better. We talked to Kyle Karros a little bit towards the end of last season, and he mentioned like something like you just said, just enjoying the little things. Like he could go out and pick balls for hours on hours before game time and just find those little routine things that make him so much better, finding joy in that. Is there any part of the pitching side of the routine that you just like wake up and get super excited about, like that you love to do?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've always prided myself on being able to, feel my body and feel the adjustments that I make, like pitch by pitch.
Yeah.
And really just getting out there and throwing every day. And especially, when I've got eyes on me, somebody who knows my mechanics and somebody who can see that, man, I love it. Like when I find something that clicks, man, it's like, you can't even describe it, man. Like it's
Yeah.
just so great. Like, you make those adjustments and it's like, bam, like, why didn't I think of that earlier? Like, let's go show everybody what we're going to do this week. It's great.
Yeah. I've had that moment a few times just as a parent, but also in my professional life. Like that's such an easy thing. Like, why didn't I just implement that all the time? And then it became a normal practice. And then it's like, all right, I just got that much better. And that made that part a little bit easier. Now we can go focus on something else while keeping that on task. Like, I don't know, baseball's weird like that. Like there's so like you said, like there's so many like life lessons and just like parts of baseball that you can just carry through to whatever.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's the beauty of the game. Like, I mean, you can learn from anybody. I learn from the hitters I talk to the hitters. I talk to I would talk to Aiden Longwell all the time. I
Yeah.
love Longwell. Like he's got such a great approach. It's so disciplined at the plate. I'm like, okay, well, based on what I've got, like how would you approach me? Like what do you think about my outing? That kind of stuff. Like getting all these different points of view. I mean, you just never know like what you can find and what's going to work for you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's day to day, and it's just like those little things that like you might pick up on it and might make all the difference for the entire season.
And all those little things just stacking on top of each other. And I'm like, you see the success as it comes along with it. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the reward in it, right? That's the hard work. That's the lifts paying off and it all coming into fruition at there.
No doubt.
Love it. I love it. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Let's listen to your baseball story, right? So you're out of Georgia, ended up in North Alabama to start, and then East Tennessee. How did the whole process out of the high school from out of Georgia ending up in Northern Alabama? How did that all kind of play out there?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting for me. I was a really late bloomer. I get that from my dad. I was undersized, undervalued. I didn't even make varsity until my junior year. I hit my growth spurt in between my sophomore and junior year of high school, which
Okay.
incredibly late. Like I was late to the scene for travel ball and all that stuff. I was borderline ready to quit my freshman year because I just didn't really see it going anywhere. And to my dad's credit, he was like, come on, like give it one more year, let's see where it goes. You're gonna grow, you'll fill into your frame. Everything's going to be fine. And sure enough, I mean, I hit my growth spurt, everything kind of filled in. I got up, my parents made the commitment along with me. We had a long talk. I went up to 643. We would drive up to North Atlanta. It's like a 3-hour drive 3 times a week for practices and for bullpens. And I mean, I'm really appreciative because I learned so much from Danny and all those guys up there. And thanks to them, I was able to get the exposure that I needed. I didn't really have a whole lot of scholarship offers. North Alabama was really I think that was my only Division I scholarship offer. So, I mean, I took that because I figured I'd get a lot of playing time if I worked my butt off. And I did, and that's how it ended up. My freshman year, I didn't have all that great of a season, to be honest, but I learned a ton, filled in a bunch of different roles. Most of it was just long relief. And then, my sophomore year, learned a lot more, became a closer. I gained some velo, got a little bit stronger in the weight room. And, Coach Keene retired after my sophomore year.
Okay.
And so I just decided that it was kind of time for a change. And I entered the portal. And I got a good bit of interest. But I mean, ETSU was always the fit for me. Coach Benzino, he was actually my first offer out of high school. He offered me, I think, my junior fall when he was coaching at West Point.
Okay.
So he offered me, and I was this close to committing to him.
Like the West Point?
Yeah, Army
Okay.
West Point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So big commitment there.
Yeah. That's a whole thing.
I was like ready to make the call, ready to commit to him, like just because I loved him so much. I mean, the school I went up for a visit, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I slept on it, and I was like, man, I really don't know. But I mean, he was the first person to reach out to me when I hit the portal, and I was like, well, I mean, what are the odds? And I loved him then, I love him now, and I mean, we were a perfect fit. And he introduced, some of the metrics and statistical stuff, and I learned a ton from him. And I mean, I wouldn't be here without him.
That's awesome. What was it about him that stood out?
He was just, I mean, he just believed in me. I mean, he saw what I could be. He told me back then, he said, you will be a professional pitcher. Even when I was a junior and I was throwing 85, 86, I didn't see it then, but I mean, he did. And I'm grateful that he did because I trusted him with my career. He saw what I could be. And I mean, a lot of hard work and a lot of long talks and occasional yelling and getting on my ass, but he got me here, we were just perfect for each other. He was just a great coach, especially for my mindset. I didn't really have all the confidence at the time. I was struggling, especially, I got off to a really hot start that spring. And then I kind of fell off just because I was trying to be too perfect, too fine, putting so much pressure on myself because I started climbing draft boards and started getting interest. And I was like, oh man, like this is getting real. And I put so much pressure on myself. And finally, him and some of the mental skills people at ETSU were like, you got to chill, I finally listened to him and I figured it out towards the end, and Colorado took a chance on me.
Yeah. I guess we're kind of happy you had those struggles there.
Yeah. And here we are.
Right. Like, yeah, and we have that discussion. We were talking with Chris Forbes a few months ago too about the process and how he kind of gets to know you guys and why he drafts you, how the scouts see you, and all that kind of stuff. But like he talks about social media, like how do people take it all in and how do people take it off? And like we talked to Connor Stay, and he's like, it just is what it is. I'm mentally tough. I can handle whatever nonsense is on there. And then there's other people that they just go zero dark 30 all the time. It's just like, I'm not going to do it. And it's like, so how did that learning process at East Tennessee kind of build up? And like, I guess what's your biggest takeaway from that, obviously? And then how do you kind of using that now? Just like with the social media and like, stuff. Yeah.
I really don't, I don't really worry about it all that much. I take into account what a lot of people say, to be honest. I mean, I read, but I make myself presentable, to guys like y'all and to everybody. I think that we should, be open to talking to people. But I mean, it doesn't really bother me, honestly. I appreciate input of any kind, to be honest. I mean, I'm all about honesty, to be pretty clear, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I don't really worry about it all that much, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's good. It's, there's it's a whole thing, like, right. Like there's too many people taking in social media and all that. It's kind of ridiculous, but like, I can imagine like as a young cat looking for the professionals and you're seeing your name go on draft boards, and like, that's a lot to take in, like, especially as somebody like that almost quit like 3-4 years ago. And like, here you are like, hey, I'm climbing, I'm doing this thing. I got this nasty ass slider. I've got the fastball grooving. Like I'm feeling it. And then adding that pressure to be that top part. Like we hear it all the time from these players. Like those are kind of the toughest times for people to get through. Like it's just tough.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, like the main thing for me was I was taking my outings home. And that, I mean, you just can't do it. I mean, you can't hold up under that kind of pressure when you're taking those bad outings home and it's just killing your days. And it got to the point where I just didn't really enjoy showing up to the field. I hated going on the mound at one point, and it wasn't fun. Like, I just lost my joy for the game for a little bit. And I mean, thankfully, I had the right people surrounding me and I got it right back. And, I locked back in and I figured everything out.
Was there something they said? Was it something they did that kind of got you like to flip that switch? Because it's not always the easiest to get a kid to switch like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it took forever, man, because I'm such a perfectionist. Like, I'm always like, man, everything should be right where it should be, because I work so hard, like everything should go exactly as planned, but it doesn't.
Right.
It's baseball, and so the main thing was, I remember like Coach Pins was like, what are you so worried about? Like, the stats are on your side. Like, I mean, it's a lot harder for hitters than it is for pitchers. I mean, if you really dumb it down, I can throw a fastball down the middle and they've got a 30% chance of hitting it. The best player in the lineup has a 33% chance of hitting it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and then actually getting on base, so I mean, I learned that I didn't really have to be all that fine, being more intentional than anything. That was the main thing, being intentional with the pitches, but not like being too perfect, too fine or anything.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And I love that. And the fact that you finally just accepted it, like, you know what, you are right. And just being able to be here in this moment now and working on this craft and again, use the whole mental skills aspect of it. Like it's showing up and it's hard. Like I work in education by day and I see some kids that just put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect. And it's just like, yo, it's okay. Like a math teacher, like math was like, it's fine to make mistakes. Numbers are numbers. They're always going to be there and you're going to mess up and just get over it, be okay with it, attempt it.
And then just embrace it and learn from it.
And it's so hard to break that mental cycle. They end up getting there. Sometimes it's in that week or sometimes it's 2-3 years down the road, but everybody's kind of on their own like little path for all different aspects. Like I talk to athletes all the time in high school and they think like, no, I'm good. I'm going to be on the varsity team. We're going to make it through. It's going to be all right. And then they don't. And then it's like, all right, do I give up? Do I work through it? It's the forgotten piece. I think that a lot of people, just fans, forget about. Like, you can go be the most athletic, most skillful dude out there, but there's still a whole nother mental side that has to be honed in and practiced on. And just to get through it. I don't know.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think that's the biggest part, I mean, I think the beauty of the game is anybody can play. I mean, you got Jose Altuve, you got Aaron Judge,
right?
I mean, you got CC Sabathia, you got Tristan McKenzie. I mean, you got all different builds, all different sizes. It's just a matter of who's going to be a dog.
Yep. Go out there and be a dog. Yep, exactly. CC, Hall of Fame. Are you you're a baseball buff, like baseball guy, right?
Yeah.
You saw CC get in.
I did. Yeah, he deserves it, man.
Did you know him growing up? Like,
not really. I grew up more of a Rays fan because my dad's from Tampa. Well, he grew up in Tampa. So I grew up kind of a Rays fan, kind of a Braves fan. So I guess I kind of looked up to David Price the most. I mean,
that would make sense. Yeah.
That Cy Young season was just so much fun to watch. And man, I mean, Longoria, BJ Upton, man, those guys were my heroes growing up. So
yeah, that team,
a lot of fun watching them.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun teams. Did Ichiro get slighted tonight? Not getting unanimous,
dude.
It's BS, right?
I don't, dude. I mean, I don't. He should have been unanimous, in my opinion.
Everybody's
without a doubt.
I think they need to find that person that didn't vote for him, and you got to revoke it. Like, that's, if there's one guy that's unanimous, it's Ichiro.
I mean, between him and Rivera wasn't unanimous either. Like,
no, Rivera was
he?
Jeter wasn't.
Jeter was. That's who. Yeah. I mean, how is Jeter not unanimous? I mean,
it's just
like the face of baseball for years. I mean,
captain.
Put him in.
like you look at that roster, you look at that ballot, there's 0% chance you don't select each row. And
Yeah, you have to. I mean,
I know,
in my
it's like,
opinion, I mean, you have to. I mean, I think he's probably, well, besides Gwen, I mean, I think he's probably the best contact hitter of all time.
yeah. And he easily could have just dropped 50 dongs on
Yeah.
anybody at
And
any
that's the
season too if he
craziest
wanted
thing.
to.
Like, if he really wanted to hit bombs, he definitely could have. He just chose to play the game, a certain way. And I think that was awesome.
Yeah. They need to figure that out too. There's a whole bunch of things about baseball they need to figure out right now.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into your arsenal a little bit. So when you were drafted, you had a 91 mile-ish per hour fastball. This is all thanks to our guy Tyler. He has all the numbers. 76 mile per hour slider, 83 mile per hour changeup, and that curveball that you threw every once in a while. What are you throwing now? How has that changed since the East Tennessee days? Where are you kind of going in as a starter who, I don't know, you might become a reliever down the road? How do we manage this arsenal?
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely trying to improve on it. Trying to hone in on what I've already got. Obviously I'm going to have a fresh start, with a new arm. But yeah, I mean, we're really focusing on the four seam with the vert. I think I averaged something like 18, 19 vert, something like that. Which is, I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely something that can be improved. I mean, every now and then it would reach 21, 22. And that's when you kind of get into the elite, four seam fastballs with vertical movement. But I really kind of try to play with that. And then, I mean, we've got, I guess I kind of call it a sweeper now. But yeah, that sweeping slider when I got hurt, we were trying to kind of tighten it down a little bit so that I could, kind of throw it in the zone and get a little bit more swing and miss. Because it's not easy to see out of the hands, but I mean, once you see it, you kind of got it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So we're kind of trying to tighten that down, make everything play off of each other a little bit better. And then, I mean, the changeup, it's my favorite. I mean, I grew up I didn't throw a slider. I didn't throw a breaking ball until my junior year of high school, really. Yeah. My dad was a big believer on just fastball changeup for a while. And so for the most part, I mean, I've got better feel for my changeup sometimes than I do my fastball, to be honest. But those three right now, just trying to hone in on those. And then eventually, once we tighten that slider down into more like a little bit more of a gyro profile, we're going to maybe think about bringing the curveball more of like a 12-6 into play. Kind of trying to play off of that, up and down a little bit more than it's kind of not really horizontal, but a four seam fastball and a sweeping slider, they don't exactly play perfectly together. So you really, I mean, like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I want everything to work perfectly together with each other, and I think that'll really, really improve, once I'm back and on the mound working on everything.
Yeah. Have a piggyback pitch off of each one, so to speak.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I want to go back to your new arm, but first, Jack Wiersma hanging out. Thank you for hanging out on the YouTube. Hey, Austin, thanks for doing this. What's the most surprising thing you found or been in since joining the Rockies organization?
That's a really good question. I would just say just the overwhelming amount of support. Everybody kind of works together a lot more than I thought. I thought that I would go off to Fresno and it would just be me and Garza, or now Sully is over there. Great coach, by the way, even though I didn't get to work with him all that much. But I mean, I got to work with everybody, as much as I wanted. I kept up with Trevor and Jason in the strength department. I kept up with Colt in the mental skills department. I mean, between Fausty and Doug and Flint too, all those guys were working with me. They would pop in and they would, offer their point of view, and I would learn from it. If it would work, then we'd go with it. And if it wouldn't, then we'd scrap it. And I mean, really just the openness has been great. Not every pitching coach is really like that open-minded. Sometimes you get that cut and dry cookie cutter pitching coach, and that's not really my style. But I found that, when I came in, like my whole thing, like honesty, like being honest about what I want out of everybody, and they're honest back to me, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's the most surprising thing is just how open the communication is, and how involved everybody's been. Because I mean, they've been with me along the way the entire time. Even after I've gotten injured, I've had so much support. I mean, it's been great.
All the way from the top down. That's awesome. And as a fan, as like hearing about the organization taking care of their people, that's really good to hear. So yeah, thank you, Jack, for that question, and thank you for answering that. So this whole new arm thing. So I mean, that's how our conversation started, right? You posted on the Instagram. You're on the surgery bed, so to speak, recovery and all that. What was the injury? What was the surgery? How's recovering going?
Yeah. So I got the full UCL reconstruction plus the internal brace. And I mean, it sucks. I mean, I would love to be out there. I hate being sidelined. But I'm learning a lot from it. Honestly, in hindsight, I think I took a lot for granted this season, especially for my first season. I don't think I appreciate everything perfectly the way that I should have. So I've definitely fallen in love with the process again. Not every day is easy. A lot of days are just such a grind, especially with the cold. Now that I'm throwing again, I mean, the cold is just brutal on the arm. But I mean, I've learned a lot from it. Finding joy in other people's success, that's something that I've really focused on. That kind of stuff, because I can only do so much each day. I got to recover and do all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm just taking it as a learning process. Forbes, he's been great. I was really emotional the day that I found out, and he was really good at helping me see the bright side of everything. 'Cause it's not easy, man. Like when your life flips upside down like that, at the flip of a switch, it's easy to just kind of fall apart. And they were great. And Forbes was like, "Listen, like, this is kind of a weird way to put it, but like, if it was going to happen, now's when you would want it to happen. Like if it had happened a year earlier, I wouldn't have gotten drafted. Right. And I mean, who knows what would have happened my senior year, and I wouldn't have had all this support staff. I probably wouldn't have had my pick of surgeons. I was lucky enough to go to Dr. Kane at the Andrews Center, and I think he's probably the best elbow surgeon on the East Coast, especially from my experience. I mean, he's been great. He did an amazing job with the surgery, and the rehab process is pretty cut and dry. And I mean, it's just, for the most part, it's been pretty simple, and, it's tough, but I'm getting through it. I'm just looking forward to being back out there.
Yeah. What is the timeline to get back out there? Where we sit?
Yeah. I keep asking for a timeline, and even to their credit, I mean, timelines are dangerous with this kind of thing.
Yeah, I bet.
You don't want to get out there too early before you're ready. Rob and Arnaldo, they've been great with the rehab process. And I keep asking them, like, all right, come on, like, give me a timeline. When am I, going to be back on the mound? And then, I mean, they're like, listen, slow down. Like, we're going to take it a week at a time. We've got, some time to work with. I'm still young. Honestly, I should have been in the draft class, the 24 draft class. My parents put me in school early, so I'm a year younger than most people in the class. So I've got a little bit more time, but we're really not putting too much pressure on a timeline. It's just kind of just whenever I'm ready, and whenever everything feels honed down and I feel comfortable getting back out there. And as soon as I think I'm ready, I'm going to tell them that I'm ready.
It's time to go. Yeah, definitely don't rush it, because I mean, you already know all that, but it's keeping all that mental skills that we were talking about earlier, like keeping all that in there. Keep perspective is 100% everything. And like, I would agree with Forbes. Like, it could have been a much worse time, right? Like, it
Yeah.
could have been way worse. And having the support staff with you right now, going through it now. But you're rehabbing, everything's going okay with that, right? No big setbacks. It
Yeah,
feels like
no, everything
so
is
we're
going
good.
great. I'm right on track. I think, well, maybe a week ahead of schedule now because
Okay.
I really didn't need a recovery week that we had scheduled in there. And so we just kind of kept on moving. But yeah, just a week at a time. This week we're backing it up to 120 feet.
All right.
Ramping up the intensity a little bit. So yeah, I mean, taking it a throwing day at a time.
Yeah, that's probably got to feel good too. Hopefully, do you get grass time, outside time? You mentioned the cold, but are
Yeah,
you able to
well,
throw outside?
right now we got, I think, like an inch of snow on the ground, so I was not able to throw today. I
Didn't get
didn't
out
tell
today.
Rob that yet, so
He might
sorry
be
about that,
listening. Who knows?
Rob. I'll get my throwing in tomorrow. I promise. I'm not one to skip out on that stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's good. For the longest time, I was telling my agent and my parents and everything, like after a while it gets so tedious. It feels like you're doing, like, it's Groundhog Day, like you're doing the same
yeah, I
thing
bet.
just over and over. But now that I'm throwing and we're backing up a little bit further every week, it's been a lot easier seeing the progress and actually seeing the work pay off. It's just so rewarding at this point, in my
Yeah,
opinion. I mean, it's
just
great. It's great to
yeah,
be throwing again.
adding a little bit more each time going out. Yeah, that probably feels good. Right along that vein, Isaac, with the question, what is the approach of developing as a player while injured? Is it only mentally, or are there other variables? So you're talking about adding that curveball in there. It's like, are we working on that? Is that even in the thought process, or are we just trying to get to
That's
122 feet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it plays into a bunch of different categories. As far as strength training, it's a little bit different. I'm not able to do like deadlift, a lot of different things that most pitchers would be doing. But there are other ways. I mean, I've been squatting a lot. Finally getting my strength back in my chest and my arms and my shoulders, and I mean, everything's fatigued after you lay off it for so long. And the recovery process and all that stuff. But I'm getting a lot stronger in the weight room. As far as pitching repertoire, I don't know. I mean, I've got to talk to Flint and Dougie and Fosty and everybody else that's involved in that process. And I have a feeling we'll have that as soon as I get out there for spring training.
Yep.
Whether we want to go ahead and develop that curveball or, whether we want to tighten the slider a little bit. But that's a lot further down the road in my throwing plan.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to have those conversations with them because I love learning from all of them. And then as far as like the mental side, I mean, like I said, I've learned a ton. I've learned a lot about myself, and how I function, just when the cards are kind of stacked against me. It's not fun, throwing a lot of times, but I kind of enjoy it not being fun, like having that grind. You
Yeah, there's
kind of
something
just
to work for, right?
yeah. I
Like,
mean, when you love the sport this much, I mean, it's just easy to kind of fall in love with that grind of it. And then off the field stuff, I mean, I'm still working on my degree in business management,
nice.
ETSU. So I'm doing that. I'm looking into learning Spanish so I can talk to my other teammates, talk to them a lot. So I'm going to get started on that hopefully this spring. And then, yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot more involved in my church in this off season. That's been really nice reconnecting with all of them.
Yeah.
Volunteering, a lot of times I'm done with the day at like 2-3 o'clock. So just finding a way to give back to the community, that kind of stuff, and spend my time, hanging out with my family. And especially my favorite part is going to see my sister. She's the actual athlete of the family. She's a
Yeah,
baller. She plays
volleyball, right? I've seen that.
no, so she plays basketball for North Georgia.
Basketball. Okay.
Yeah, she is like a stretch four, kind of like a five, but man, she's She's a baller. She's the real athlete of the family, man. She's everything that I've got. I had to work my butt off day in and day out, and
She's a lucky one.
She got the athleticism, man. She could have picked up probably 4 sports and been all state in any of them. And she chose basketball after my dad, my granddad, and she's balling now. And I think they're I just looked, they were like number 7 and number 10 in the country for D2. So they're having a great season, and all of them are going crazy, and it's just been really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's almost like it gives you an opportunity to slow yourself down a little bit and really be in that moment, because we hear all the time, once baseball season starts February, like you're gone in 3 weeks, 4 weeks probably for spring training, and then technically you shouldn't be back until September, October. And so really just kind of embracing that extra time that you have and just being part of it.
Without a doubt.
It's kind of lucky. I had a snow day, and I have a snow day tomorrow, and I'm just like, well, what do I do? And my kid's gonna be home. He's 7, and it's like, all right, so we're gonna figure something out. We gotta be together. We gotta embrace this a little bit, because as much as irritating as it is to try to entertain a 7-year-old and inside for 4 days straight, there is still some kind of beauty about hanging out with a 7-year-old inside for 4 days straight.
Definitely. It's just really, really rewarding seeing her grow up and watching her play, and seeing how she's transformed into this just elite athlete. It's a lot of fun to watch. I went off to college when she was a sophomore, and to be honest, she's made so many strides just in the sport and in her growth just as a person, and it's fun to watch. Honestly, I come home and it's just so much fun for me.
That's awesome. I love that. I love the sibling love there. I have my oldest and then 3 others, so it's kind of fun seeing them be part of a little group that they have to kind of be around and helping each other, and it's fun to see. So as an adult yourself and seeing that sibling stuff is fun. I mean, all right, so Noah Spyrick out here, favorite gas station. So you're driving up to North Georgia. What are you grabbing? What are you getting out of the gas station there?
All right, we're stopping at the racetrack. All right, we're getting a Sprite. We're getting a what's that Gatorade flavor? Arctic Blitz. Grabbing Arctic Blitz Gatorade, and if we're going healthy, I'll grab some peanuts or some sunflower seeds. But if we're not, and a lot of times we're not going healthy.
No, you're not going healthy on this.
Yeah, it's definitely Starburst or M&Ms or something like that. It just depends on the mood I'm in. Every now and then you got to throw some gummies in there. But you never know with me, man. I might walk out with something I've never even tried before. A lot of actually, for part of the season here in Fresno, me and Mahoney, I would show up to the field every now and then. It would usually be, on Sundays after both of us, Saturdays after both of us would be done and Coop would be thrown. I'd show up with just some kind of candy in the 3rd inning or something and be like, all right, here's what we got today. We're trying it. And so for a few weeks there, that was the running joke. I'd show up with something and we'd try it.
It's the best time to try it, because why not? And you got somebody else to go through it with you. This is it. Let's have some fun with this.
Yeah,
I love that. Brian, thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah, Isaac, giving some recognition in women's basketball. Love the wave of recognition the last couple of years there. Yeah, it's just good stuff there. Obviously, we're past the time a little bit. I just appreciate you hanging out. I do want to talk about your season a little bit with Fresno before going down. What was that? What was that game like? That one game, the 8 strikeouts, 3 hits, 1 walk, just like you were feeling it. You had to have been
the night that I went down.
Wasn't that the night? I did not know that. It was 8 strikeouts. This feels like it was in the middle of the season.
Yeah. Okay, I know the one you're talking about.
No, I don't want to bring up the night you went down. No, the 8
yeah. That night that was so much fun. Me and Garza and McCabe, we had been working so hard that week. It was so rewarding. I was really in that stretch where I was like, man, this is really tedious. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm so close. All season I had just been so close, and then I'd finally it had clicked like the day before, and like just a touch and feel bullpen. I was like, man, that's it. Like, that's what we're looking for. And so I went in with just so much confidence, and I just attacked. And it was just a lot of fun that night. You know, everything was working. Yeah, I mean, I was just feeling it that night, and everything was playing in the zone. You know, the ball was zipping a little bit more, even though my velo had been down just because of arm pain that had led up to the injury. There was just some stress in the elbow there. But velo was up a tick, that played into it. But yeah, I mean, it was mainly just a confidence level. You know, I had everything working, and I trusted everything. And, you know, me and McCabe, we had finally kind of figured each other out those weeks leading up to it, you know, figuring out what we wanted in those positions, and everything came together that night. It was really fun.
It's got to feel so good, like when everything's just clicking. Like, did you feel it in the bullpen before, or was it just like, all right, the game's on?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, I woke up feeling good. You know,
okay.
I have a routine, you know, the night before and the day of, you know, where everything's kind of the same. You know, I control what I can control.
Yeah.
And so leading up to it, I control everything. And so I make sure that everything's, for the most part, the exact same as much as it can be. And yeah, I mean, the confidence level was there, and I was feeling it in the bullpen, and I was like, yeah, we're about to have one hell of a night. You know, I told McCabe, I was like, I'm feeling it. Like, let's go get them. Like, we're not messing around tonight. You know, we're going to locate early, and we're going to attack.
I love that. That's gotta be so much fun to catch too. Like, I bet McCabe loved that, and like defense watching it from behind, it's like, all right, he's on, let's go.
Yeah. Every now and then it's just the entire team's just on autopilot, and that night was it. Like, it's just like you're on autopilot, you're working as just like one person.
Yeah, that's so cool when it all clicks all around. Like, everybody has that day, that night going with it.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Fun. How much fun was it to have Hobson and Tenna behind you, just roaming the outfield? Like, the speed between those two was just incredible to watch.
Yeah, man. I mean, if it flies, it dies. I mean,
yeah, seriously,
there's no fly zone out there. I mean, I love Hob. Hob's one of my guys. Tenna's great too. You know, he's awesome. He's a good teammate. I mean, he's a barrel. Both of them are barrels, in my opinion. But I mean, they're so fast, and I mean, it was easy. I mean, having that confidence in the players behind you, you know, it makes everything easier for me. You know, knowing that my guys, you know, knowing Wimmer, Longwell, Tuck, everybody, you know, they're all going to go out there and make plays. Everybody, I mean, I've got confidence in everybody. You know, all those guys, I would trust them, you know, with everything. You know, and it makes everything easier. I can locate better. You know, I can be a little bit less intent. Like, I just throw it to a certain spot, get my ground ball, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or get my pop fly, and that's it.
Yeah, allows you to have that wiggle room that we're going back to. It was just something about watching Hobson. I remember watching Tenna on right field. It was a late season game. There's no reason he should have got to the ball. Is in foul territory, almost near first base. Dude, man, just comes out of the picture, slides, catches it.
Yeah, man.
120 feet, just insane speed.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I don't even know which play you're talking about, because both of them made so many of them. I mean, Tenna made so many plays like that. Hob made so many plays where I'm like, oh man, I've got to cover this base because they're about to run for days. And then Hob would come out of nowhere and make a play. And I was like, all right, hats off to you, dude. I'm gonna head back to the dugout and just move on to the next one.
hey, we got that out.
Yeah.
How big of a goofball is Kaminska? We had him on in the middle of the season. He was pitcher of the week one day, and he's just a giant goofball, it feels like.
He's the definition of just unapologetically yourself. You know, he's himself, and he doesn't care. You can either like it or you cannot. And he's a blunt person. You know, at first I was like, man, who is this guy? And then you learn like, and now we're really good friends. You know, I'm good buddies with him, and I love him, and he's a baller. Of course, he takes care of his work, and he has fun with it. You know, he shows up to the field, gets his work in, and as soon as our work's over, you know, we're having a good time, cutting up, paying attention to the game, but you know, having a good time with it.
Yeah, he was pretty honest in the conversation that we had with him too. It was like, oh, okay, this is where we are.
Yeah, he's a very honest guy.
He didn't hold much back. It was like, okay, we don't usually get that kind of honesty. It was, It was refreshing. I love him for that. And yeah, he was a dog. Like he was just pinpointing everything. So many strikes from that man.
Yeah, man. I
He
mean,
was fun to watch.
he was a lot of times, he was, the reason that we would win the series. We'd cut it close. It'd be 3-3, and he'd come in, and a lot of times I was just like, well, it's a dub today. Everybody's got the day off. Bullpen, you got the day off. Chill out, have fun. Just do whatever you want. He'll go 7, and we'll get 8 and 9 out of somebody. Bill and Herrera or whoever's hot.
Whatever
And
combo,
I mean,
right?
yeah, and I mean Stu. God, I mean you got so many guys.
Yeah.
They're just dogs that you can just trust. It's so easy, man. It's so easy. Watching him was so much fun this year. Watching Kaminska and all those guys.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
There was a lot of talent not in Fresno.
So much. I mean, so much talent with this draft class. All these guys are great. All the guys in the draft class. Really, really proud of how all of them are playing, at every level. I mean, it's just been a great group.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. It's really exciting as a fan too. Like, and covering the minors the way we do, it's like, all right, we can find somebody somewhere, usually more than one, to watch and just be excited about. It's
it's exciting to watch. I mean, even as a guy in the org, I mean, it's fun. Like, holy cow, Doe just shut everybody down in his outing in AA. Like, holy cow, Halverson's in the bigs. Like, what do we got on that? Dog. I mean, it's just fun to watch. I mean, everybody's balling. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I got another question in the chat. Thank you, Noel Chan, for hanging out. We touched this a little bit, but what was the hardest transition from that college to the pro life, from East Tennessee to Fresno?
College to pro. I would say just the level of talent, probably in the lineups that you're facing. A lot of times in college, those 7, 8, 9 hitters are kind of like, just get them in and get them gone. But 1 through 9, and even their bench guys that they bring in late in the game, later in your outings, they all do damage. You make one mistake and they'll put it over the fence. And I learned that very quickly. I think I gave up a home run in my first 3 or 4 starts. One home run each inning, each outing. And I would learn very quickly, like, you've got to take it pitch by pitch, and you've got to take every pitch seriously, and you've got to be very intentional with all of them, because you make one mistake and that could be the difference maker of the game. And 1 through 9, they will all take advantage of it at any level.
Yeah. Yeah. We hear that quite a bit. This, the 1 through 9 aspect of it. Like, everybody's a pro. No matter if they're 18 coming from the Dominican Summer League the week before to SEC to whatever D2 program, like, they're all pros for a reason.
Yeah,
like,
everybody's here for a reason, and it's because they're good.
It's because they're good. I love that. All right, let's get out of here. I got a few more questions, fun questions. I always like to end it with some of these. But are you aware that you have a T-shirt?
What?
Yeah. So I looked up Austin.
What are you talking about?
You have a T-shirt on Amazon with your name on it. It's a Players Association. Let's see if I can find it here. So I wonder if you're aware of this shirt. Faith Family, Austin Emener. It's got the players.
I'm a big fan of that, but no, I didn't know that.
Brand,
I'm a big fan of that, though.
Ballpark MVP. There's some other ones. So
no, I did not know about that.
I don't know. We might need to talk to somebody.
Yeah, I don't know what we got on that, but I'm a big fan of the Faith Family part. I'm very big on that kind of stuff. Baseball is not the biggest thing for me. It's my faith and it's my family. I take that very seriously. So that represents me pretty good, but I don't know who's selling that, but fair enough, dude. Go make your money.
Ballpark.
New orders.
Right. Yeah, here you go. Go ahead and check it out on the Amazon. Yeah, I was curious. I was like, I don't know. This doesn't really feel like something that was kind of planned.
It definitely wasn't me. Definitely was not me.
No, I can't find. There it is. All right. Second question. Last question. We'll end it with this one. Is, what is your favorite baseball moment of all time? For you, the one question, the one time you get to be completely selfish about you between the lines. Was it the 18 strikeout game in high school? Was it the 4 strikeout inning that you had? Like,
Yeah,
completely
I
selfish.
mean that that's a good question. I think my very favorite, um, I guess it would have to be probably my first outing of pro ball,
Yeah.
in Fresno. I mean, that's just the definition of a dream come true. I mean, Cape Cod comes to mind. That was another lifelong dream of mine that I wanted to play in the Cape, and I finally got that chance, and that was also a dream come true. And Katuitt for life. I was only there for like a week and a half, but it counts, right?
It counts. You were
Uh,
there.
but yeah, man. I mean, for the most part, this is all I've ever wanted, man. I've dreamed of this, since I've been able to dream since I remember.
Yeah.
This has been the culmination of a lot of hard work from me and my parents, and a lot of long days at the field, and to be able to get out there and throw on a Fresno jersey and go out there and play for a professional organization. I mean, not many people get to do that, and I really appreciate that. And I remember back to the days in the yard where I would throw a tennis ball against the wall thinking that I was in the World Series,
Yep.
and that kind of stuff. I mean, you just can't make it up, man. It was great. It was such a fun feeling, man.
Yeah. I love that answer. That's a fantastic answer. I guess I have another question. What was your favorite Fresno Grizzly jersey? Because there's some fire jerseys out there.
I'm a big fan of the black jersey. I like the black jersey with the cream pants.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite of the season. I wasn't there for the Star Wars game. I had some stuff that I had to deal with, but I didn't get to see that one in person. Big Star Wars guy, but
Okay.
that would have been cool to see. But as far as just the normal generic jerseys, that black one's my favorite by far.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I love the tacos version just because it has the connection with the Colorado Rockies
Yeah,
and
that's a good
the
one too.
sleeveless, the purple
Yeah.
on the black pops. All right, another question. Cape
Hit me,
Cod
man.
movie.
Hey, I'm here.
You're younger than I am. So do you know the movie Summer Catch with Freddie Prinze and Jessica Biel?
I don't think I do. Should I?
A lot of people your age don't. A lot of people my age do. It's a Cape Cod movie. Freddie Prinze is pitching for some Cape Cod league. It's about his summer there. He falls in love, then he falls in love with the game again, and it's really corny, but also really fun. It's a quotable movie.
Yeah.
So
You know what? Now that you talk about the movie, I have heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it.
look into it. It's a fun movie. It's got the goofball catcher. He was Scooby-Doo in one of the movies. Can't think of his name, just tall, lanky goofball. But it's a fun movie. It's good.
Yeah.
And then
I'll add it to the list.
And then the last one, you grew up in Macon. Hopefully, I'm assuming I'm saying the right, Macon, Georgia. And then you played for the Macon Bacon. How much fun was that?
Yeah,
The Macon
man,
Bacon
so
is
much
just a
fun.
fun jersey.
So much fun. I mean, those games were so great. So many friends, so many families, people that I haven't seen in forever, that I've gone off to college, they would come back and they would watch me. And it was just so much fun to play, to represent, my hometown.
Yeah.
To some extent. And it was just great. My church family, all of them showed up. It was so much fun. I mean, just knowing how many just people that actively like just know me, like on a personal level, that are just there supporting me. It made the outings just so much easier, just knowing that I've got all these people surrounding me, cheering me on, that I know.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. I mean, it was a great experience. That organization's run really well. With Brandon Raphael, he's great. I miss those days, to be honest. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't change it for where I am now, but
Yeah,
it was a great experience, man. It was awesome.
I love hearing that. Yeah. The support group you have. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that, your vulnerability, getting through the tough times. Like, again, not something that we get a lot from, and a lot of people just aren't open with that. So I think that says a lot about who you are as a person. And I appreciate that just on a human level, just being open and honest about all of it and sharing that story with us and being willing to come on and talk ball. And we now got you. You're now one of our guys. So we're going to be bumping you up the most we can. And we got your outings. We got you on our end, and you keep doing your thing over there, and we'll be rooting for you. And your support group got just a little bit bigger.
Awesome, man. I love it, man. Thank you for having me, man. This has been great. I think I can speak for the entire organization where we appreciate y'all's support. You know, we really look forward to seeing those recaps a lot of times.
Love that.
Hyping the guys up, you know, it's a lot of fun, you know, having those support groups, you know, that are active and that are heavily involved in social media and that kind of stuff, you know, because these days, you know, I mean, you don't really see a whole lot of that as much as you should. So, I mean, as players, all of us, we really appreciate what y'all do, man. It's been great.
That's good. That's always been the goal, is just to pump you guys up in some way, somehow, and share the stories of everybody. We don't need to hear all the top prospects. We need to hear everybody's story. So you all seeing that feels good on our end. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your story, and we'll get you on again and keep grinding, man. We got you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.